Joining me this afternoon is Joe from Bartons Solicitors. Corey unfortunately couldn't make it. Bartons Solicitors have 4 offices across the southwest of the United Kingdom, and they are full British Marine members. And yachting brokers, I represent yachting brokers as well as the British Marine Southwest, with offices in Dartmouth and Falmouth, and associate offices in Brittany and Normandy. Also, full British Marine member. So we don't have a lot of time today, so I can't do the whole how to buy and sell a boat in 20 minutes. It's not possible. But we'll go through some of the main points, which is preparing the boat for sale, some tips about that. The boat sales process, what documents do you need and what should you be expecting to find when you buy and sell the boat? A little bit, and I mean a little bit about VAT documentation. It's a complex process, and Jo's going to help on that bit. She'll talk to you about VAT and the documents itself. Hull identification numbers, and we're just going to touch on surveys, because, gosh, we could talk for days about surveys, couldn't we? So, the process. It's quite straightforward, really. As you'd expect, it just works from deciding to sell, preparing the boat, getting the details together for it, obviously then getting it live online somewhere, selling it wherever, and then hopefully that attracting viewings. At that point, we should be getting offers or whatever. Obviously, if you don't get an offer, you go back and start all over again, or if we have a bad survey, we're going to come back to this point later. If we get a yes offer, accepted, you're happy with the offer, then we start raising paperwork. As brokers, we would be asking for a deposit at that point. 10% deposit is the norm. That's what we do, held in a secure client account. And that's one of the things we'll talk about as well, is where that is held. As far as a broker is concerned, when we're holding a deposit, that boat is formally under offer. It's not like housing. At that point, the boat is withdrawn from the market and we don't carry out any more viewings, because at that point, costs are being incurred by both parties. Also, we're drawing up paperwork at that point, agreement for sales and things like that. And then we would be drawing up a bill of sale, again, while the surveys and things take place. If all goes well, then we're looking for balance of funds and completion of the process. As I say, obviously, if it goes wrong at the survey point, you go back to the viewings again. Do you need a broker? Do you need a solicitor? Do you need a lawyer? Or do you want to sell privately? All are available to you. You may need any of those. You may need a solicitor. You may have a very complex sale or purchase, and that's where a marine-based lawyer will be able to help, because there are some very complex sales processes and purchase processes. But there's nothing to stop you selling privately, nothing at all. If you want to sell your boat privately, no problem at all. If you do choose to sell through a broker, please look for the logo. There's a big campaign by British Marine at the moment looking for the logo. It's your mark that they have met key criteria, that they have, one of the most important ones, and we have to do it every year, is undertake that we hold a proper accredited client account. And that is a client account that's held in trust. So funds are in trust. No one else can touch those funds. Very important. So you're looking for the British Marine logo or the ABIA logo, the Association of Professional Yacht Brokers. So do please look out for those. What are you going to do in terms of preparing the boat for sale? Tip number 2 is, it's so obvious, but clean boats sail better. Absolutely imperative if you clear and prepare the boat. Clean it inside and out. And what you're looking to do is remove personal effects. So same as a house, declutter the boat. If it's full of stuff, we can't see our way through it, we can't open lockers, we can't get to places, can't get into fore cabins because it's full of stuff. It's really, really hard to give someone an idea of that boat. So declutter it. And I put there, tidy boat, not empty boat. Empty boats, like empty houses, are also an awful lot harder. So just clean and tidy. Personally, I like to see clean engine bays and bilges. It's the first place I'll go, and I'll have a look in your bilges, because that says to me everything about the boat. I know there's some people that will argue and say, oh yes, but they were clean the day before. Doesn't matter. It shows about a presence of mind. And if there's any essential maintenance, do it now. it's only going to come back on you at survey. So get that done now. If there's a shaft seal needs doing, honestly, do it now. You're going to end up paying for it somewhere. It's not worth it. Third tip would be, if you keep the boat ashore, just think about how it's going to be while it's being sold. Is it going to be okay? Is it going to keep warm and dry? So put a dehumidifier in there, or a background heater. Or there's a product now by a company called August Race, which is like a boat bomb. You just set the aerosol off and walk away, and it'll keep the mildew and stuff down, so it doesn't go all black and mildewy over the winter. These are examples of what I like to see. A nice, clean, tidy boat, spotless bilges, teak, clean, not green. Okay, we're looking for clean teak. The first place someone's going to go on the boat is going to be the cockpit. The minute whether it's ashore or afloat, you're going to step in and go, oh. If they walk up that ladder in the boatyard and see a boat covered in green, thousands come off the price straight away because no one's been near that boat. So just clean it up. There's a slide here with the worst of the worst. So bilges full of oil, that's just a nightmare. That is just, everything's wrong. Everything's wrong. Cabins full of junk, damp, everything left out. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So please, just clean the boat. Now also get all your documentation together. If you haven't got it already, get it together now. Get it into a file. Get it all prepared. History, if you've got history going back, great. Certainly we want previous bills of sale and stuff like that. And if you've done some servicing recently, great stuff to have so someone can look at that, go through the file. I can look at it and go through it. Fantastic. We're up to date. Engine was serviced last month. Great. Really good. And also what inventory you're going to include with the boat. Are you going to sell it with everything? Or are you going to take some bits off? Are you selling the tender or whatever? Think about it now. You're going to have to think about it. So make sure you know what you're going to include with the boat. It makes our lives a lot easier. Are you going to sell it in the water or out the water? Big question. Boats sail better out the water. Sorry, end of story. They do sail better out of the water. You're making it much, much easier for people to come and view the boat. Have a good look at the boat. In some respects, you've saved them the cost. When they're going to go to survey, you haven't got all that. He's not got to bear that cost of lifting and replacing the boat in the water. And inspections are just an awful lot easier. But it's got to be accessible. So I'll put on there as well, you know, a boat on a swinging mooring out in a river with no water taxi service. It's going to be really hard to get someone out there on a wet day in January. Are they really going to buy the boat? Hopefully they do. But think about it. It's something just really to think about where you want to put the boat and where it's going to sell the best. And if it's in a boatyard, sometimes you can end up being blocked in. And we get the same. And so you come to sell it, you get a sale in March, and the boatyard say, no, you can't have it till May because there's 10 more boats in front of you and it's not coming out. So think about that. If you tell the yard beforehand, they may put you in at the front. May. They don't all. So documentation then, you want to get some documentation together. The key documents we want are, you know what I'm going to say. First, it's the VAT. We've got to have the VAT. If we haven't got VAT, it's a problem. I know I'm going to have questions about VAT, but we do really need to see that it's a VAT paid boat. Bill of sale, so we need to see you genuinely own the boat. We want to see that you are actually the genuine owner of the boat, please. And ideally, some bill of sales going backwards. Again, more history, the better. And if it's relevant to it, if it needs it, then obviously Recreational Craft Directive or Builder Certificate we want to see as well. Tip 5 I put on here, if you're using a broker, make sure you question him where he's going to advertise the boat, what sites he's going to put it on, what sort of feedback he's going to give you. Is he going to give you a monthly report? Is he going to tell you what's going on? If we're British Marine members or ABM members, one of the things we do have to do is we have to put all offers to you. We cannot hold offers back. Okay, so every offer, and I say to everybody when they're selling, I'm sorry, I've got to put every offer to you. So however bad they are, I'm going to give them to you, but we're not allowed to remove them. So just think about that. But also, what other data are you going to get back from your broker? Is he going to tell you how many viewings you've had, how much data you've got? And now ask Joe just to go quickly through some of the VAT process.
Okay, hi. As far as VAT is concerned, it's crucial that you establish that whether the boat is VAT paid or not. If you don't have any documents to prove that VAT has been paid, then you will be liable to pay it in whichever country you're in with the vessel at the time. The only exemption is if it can be called VAT paid status. Now this applies where the vessel was built prior to 1985, and you also need to establish that it was in the EU on the 31st of December 1992. Any vessel that achieves both those things then is deemed VAT paid status, and that will be retained unless there's a chargeable event, which is a transaction, so it's either bought by a business or it's imported back into the UK. So tip number 6, if you're buying a boat from outside the UK, seek professional guidance, as rules and regulations differ across the UK and of course outside the EU and outside the EU. We deal with a lot of sale and purchases where the vessel will be bought in one country and is taken to another country, and quite often we have to speak to correspondent lawyers in that country to find out precisely how it works over there, and then if it has to be registered back over here, it can get quite complicated. Okay, so the following documents are considered to be useful to prove the age and location. So as far as the age, if you've got the survey, registration, insurance, and probably the most important one, builder's certificate, if you've got that. As far as location, you see you can have the mooring invoice or harbour dues just to prove that it was there on the 31st of December 1992. If it wasn't in the EU at that point, when it came back to the EU, you would then have been liable, or the owner would have been liable to pay the tax. It says proof of the age alone is not sufficient, need to show that it was actually in the EU. Boat sale documents, again, proof of ownership. That can either be the current owner's bill of sale or Part 1 registration. If you put it on the small ships registry, it's very cheap, but it doesn't prove ownership. And there's a picture there of a certificate of registry. And the next one shows a bill of sale. Those can be downloaded from the MCA website, but we can also complete those for you. If the vessel is registered on Part 1, then you'll receive a certificate of British registry like the one that you may or may not be able to see. This will confirm who owns the vessel and how many shares out of 64. So if you own the vessel outright, it'll be 64/64. This is an MCA transcript of registry. Once the vessel's registered on Part 1, you'll be able to obtain a transcript. It costs around £21, and this will confirm who owns the vessel, and if there's any security or charges against it or mortgages, that will show up on the registry. So when you're buying a vessel, you would always get a copy of the transcript first, just to check what debts have to be paid off against the vessel when it's sold or when you purchase it.
Yeah, it's crucial there that transcript is the only document that shows if there is someone else with an interest in that vessel. So if there's a mortgage company has an interest in it, that only the transcript will show it. It won't show it on the normal Part 1 registry. So it's crucial you do ask, and we will always ask for one at that point of sale. Recreational Craft Directive. Okay, so everything post 16th of June 1998, give all the words, intended for leisure and recreational, yada, 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 must meet the standards of the Recreational Craft Directive. That's it, end of. There is no dispute, it needs to meet it. If it's in this country after that date. Doesn't matter when it was built in America before that date and came in after, it's going to need it. And you will find it, hopefully on a builder certificate. On there, some pictures of some plaques. Obviously, you know where they appear on your boat. They will have should have the CE mark on them, and they will also give the classification, the C coding that they can be used in. Okay, so it's not definitive to rely on the plaque, because obviously the plaque can be forged, but unusual. I have never seen one, but please rely on the document rather than the plaque on the boat. But certainly to see that plaque on the boat is a good mark that it meets the directive. Ideally, though, you want to see a builder certificate. This will show when and where it was built, who built it, We'll give it its hull identification number, and I'll show you hull identification number in a minute. And also its category. It's RCD category A to D, which is where it can be used, okay? So A for ocean, D is inland waters only. And that will be on there and on the plaque. Actually, it can appear twice, so you will have quite often, it could be a category B and a category C boat, but there'll be less people on a category B than on a category C. You don't need an RCD certificate if it was put onto the market in the European community before the 16th of June 1998. Not required. Or it's only visiting the European Economic Area, okay? Then you don't need it. However, you will need an RCD if it was put on the market after 1998. It does need it. And it was put into service after that date. So either on the market or in service after 1998. It's going to need it. As I say, a boat bought from the United States could have been built anytime, doesn't matter when it was built. The minute it hits the European area, and you're going to keep it here, it needs to meet RCD compliance. There are some exemptions if it was a home-built boat sold within 5 years of completion, or it's an experimental racing boat. Hull identification numbers, they're really hard to find. I know they are. But just to give you an example of how to work through an identification, and why is it useful? Because you can use it to check the paperwork adds up, and you can check the age of the boat, the year of the boat. So the example there starts GB. GB is going to be United Kingdom. It was built in the UK. US is America. FR is France, etc. Next three letters will be the builder's letters that have been assigned to it. So CHU, it just happens to be, it's what I picked, is Church House Boats, the builders of the Drascombe luggers. The next 4 or 5 digits will usually be used by the builder to identify that hull. So it's their hull number and a model number, something like that. So it's kind of meaningless to you. It's most likely this one's LU015. I suspect that was hull number 15. Okay, of a lugger, actually, probably was it. And then you get the letter. The letter H in this case it shows the month of build, starting with obviously A being January. Okay, so H is going to be August. Now the last 3 is the ones you want to worry about. Last 3. You then have, in this case, you have a 3 and an 03. The 3, it was built in 2003. The 03 that follows, it was a 2003 model year. Okay? So you could have a builder who's got a new series of boats coming out next year, in 2004. So he will mark it as an 04 boat, but it was actually built in 2003. So technically, its year of build was 2003, but it's a model year of 2004. It probably was bought in 2004, but technically speaking, it's a 2003 year built boat. So that hull identification number should be on your paperwork, typically on the starboard transom top. Some of the French boats puts it on the starboard quarter on the side, and then it will be somewhere else inside the boat secret. There is a secret location that only the builder knows, okay? So if you ever find that it's been messed around with, you're suspicious that it's been scraped off, you can go back to the builder, or you're going to find out where it is that they hid the other hull identification number to confirm if this is genuine or not. Okay, when you're buying, obviously you're going to go and look at boats to view or whatever. And remember, there's a caution I put in here about fraud if you're selling privately as well. Please beware of fraud. There's a lot of it about. If you put the boat privately for sale, there's plenty of rogues out there who will scoop up the details, scoop up the photographs, put it on another site and pretend to be you. I've even had it happen to one of the boats I was selling for one of my clients. And I actually rang the person up, and he professed to be the owner of the boat. There's no way he was. Typical scam is if you're selling, someone will offer to buy the boat, they will say, I'll send you the money, and they will send you too much money. They will then say, oh, I made an error, it was for whatever. Can you send me the £4,000 back? You send them the £4,000 back, and then magically that check they sent bounces your £4,000 out of pocket. okay? There's a lot of scams around, so please be aware. If it is too good, it probably is. When you're buying, when you're selling, you're going to make an offer, and it's going to be conditional or unconditional. Please remember, an unconditional sale means you are buying it sold as seen. That is it. There is nothing else. You're going to sign a piece of paper that says, I understand what I'm buying. There is no comeback at all on broker or anybody else. It's fine, do it. I won't. I'm not allowed to recommend you do, but don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. However good you are at surveying, get a survey or make some conditions of offer, because the minute you pass that deposit over, it's going to be conditional on those conditions. And again, Joe will tell you plenty of examples where people relied on somebody else's survey. If you rely on the seller's survey, there is no comeback at all, because that survey wasn't for you as the buyer. So if you withdraw from the sale, they have every right to not give you back your deposit. So please, get your own survey and do it properly. Typical conditions subject to survey. Rigging check for yachts, please. Rigging check, they're not expensive, they're really easy to do, can save you a bucket load of money. A surveyor will only survey to shroud height or chain plate height. He'll tell you there's a mast up there, and that's it. So get it checked. Powerboats get an engine test report as well, okay? Get it done. It's the most important part of them.
Documents as well.
Yeah, and the documents, and go through the documents. If someone tries to persuade you, and if a broker tries to persuade you to buy a boat unconditionally, walk. Don't stay there, all right? It's not the boat for you. Out of water survey, obviously you arrange for that. That's down to the purchaser to deal with. And the broker must provide you with a list of local surveyors. We cannot specify one surveyor. We will give you a list, and you choose based on whatever criteria it is. Price, availability, whatever. But please don't be led into someone saying, oh, I've got this chap, he's free tomorrow, he'll do it for you. Go and get another one, please. Obviously, you pay for the cost of the survey and the lift out. The rule we have is, if you withdraw from the purchase, then the boat needs to go back in the same condition financially and physically as it was before you started, okay? If you don't, that's what we're using your deposit for. So if you don't pay the surveyor, we will pay the surveyor from your deposit. If you don't put the boat back on the mooring, we will take that from your deposit and give you the balance back. Okay, it's fair enough. And you, as the seller, will expect the same. You want your boat back as you left it. And that's why we're very strict with it. Surveys, when we get to the survey point, if you can go to a survey as a buyer, great. If the surveyor is happy for you to be there, it's a really good time to go there. It's a really good place to find out, as the previous speaker was saying, understanding your boat is a fantastic way of finding out a lot about your boat. It's really useful. Some surveyors don't like it. Ask him when you do the interview process. Do you mind if I'm there as well? As a broker, I like to be there. I like to see the points that are picked up. I can then talk back to both parties about whatever I've seen. They are the most contentious, and I have to say, most private sales fall out of bed at survey. Because at that point, when you're doing post-survey negotiations, it's virtually impossible. You have two interested parties who will never, ever meet. That's when we, as brokers, earn our keep, because we are going to try and keep that sale on track for both parties. Okay? It's really very, very hard. If all goes well with the survey, there should be a full agreement for sale. The RYA do have some agreement for sales available from their website. We'll be using the British Marine Sales Agreement, and we'll have got all that signed while we were going through surveys and things. And we would have got a new bill of sale drawn up, ready to go, but not dated. Bill of sale must show all current owners and new owners. We can put multiple owners on one bill of sale. Maximum is 4. I can't do more than that. Can't split it more than 4 times. We do more than 4, we should split it up. I think that's right. You do 4? Yeah?
Yeah, I said 5 per.
Okay. Yeah, you've got to think about dividing the shares up as well. So, but you can do it. It's not a problem. And then you can divide the shares up how you like. Actually, you can assign different amounts of shares to different people. It's okay to do. You don't need to reveal the price. You saw in the examples of those bill of sales, we put £1 and other considerations. You do not need to reveal the price on the bill of sale. So when you come to resell the boat, nobody knows actually what you paid for it. It's not a problem. And you, when you sign as the vendor, you are signing that that boat is sold free of encumbrances. There is a little line at the bottom that we have to cross out if it's not a thing, and you will be initialing that. And that's you saying it has no debt. You are pledging you are selling it without any debt. As a broker, I will go around and check that you haven't got any debt on that boat. I do go through sometimes there the 64 shares, but we haven't got time as to why there's 64 shares in a boat. All I can say is the Europeans, when they come and buy our boats, they go, why have you got 64 shares? Shouldn't it be 100? They really don't get it. Okay, when we've got all the documents signed and witnessed, and there's some crucial witnessing on all those documents obviously required, formal completion can take place once obviously we've got cleared funds. Okay, so we're looking for cleared funds. Again, look for fraud, please. We're not allowed to accept cash anymore, which makes life an awful lot easier. The only way we do financial transactions these days is by direct bank transfers, because the minute that money hits the account, we know it's cleared funds. But please be very, very cautious if you're selling it privately. And then we can, new owner can transfer a Part 1 register. If it's Part 1 registered, you can take that over. If it's an SSR, you cannot take over an SSR. It has to be cancelled and sent back. So please do that. Otherwise, when that person goes to re-register your boat with the MCA, they'll say, you can't do it, it's already registered. So please just do them a favour, send it back to MCA and turn it back in. A non-UK citizen can't register on the Part 1. You need to be a UK citizen. And therefore, again, in that case, it must be surrendered if it's going outside, because you can only ever be on one register in the world at any one time. So it's very important that you remove it. Hopefully, at that point, we've got all the documents signed. We've had a fantastic survey. She sailed through survey, which is great. Money's all been transferred. We've checked if there's anything outstanding, no liabilities. Checked with the Harbour Authority, there's nothing owed there. Yep. And bill of sales dated. We have a sold boat. Happy days. Off we go sailing, and enjoy your days. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we managed. That was a real whistle-stop tour. Thank you very much.